Kia ora e te whānau, and welcome everybody to today's Whānau Āwhina Plunket live chat. So this sessions where we try and answer and cover topics on things which are on the minds of you all out there. Here in Aotearoa, it is a very strange time indeed, and it's a tough time as well with these new restrictions that we're facing. And we just want to have this chat today just to go over a few things. My name is Chloe. I'm part of the Plunket Line team here. And as I say, we just want to remind everybody that, everyone's feeling a real range of emotions right now. You might feel sad, you might feel distressed, worried, confused, anxious, angry. And all of those emotions, whatever you're feeling, is absolutely okay. If you are feeling like you need some help, then always please do reach out. Whatever time of day it is, our Plunket Line team are always there 24/7. You can always call them on 0800 933 922. That'll be a number that I'm sure we will repeat a lot of times throughout this chat. And there's always a registered nurse on the end of that line if you ever need any help or any support. So as I said, with these current restrictions, with this current Omicron COVID-19 situation, we've seen lots of parents and heard from lots of parents, especially those living with tamariki under the age of 5, wanting advice on how to keep their pepi and their tamariki safe during this time. So to help us out, to answer some of your questions, today we've got the wonderful Maxine and the wonderful Waikura here to help us go through this topic and answer any questions that you guys have. So I will let both of them introduce themselves. So Maxine, why don't you go first, please? Thank you.
Kia ora te whānau. So I'm Maxine. I'm a Plunket nurse working in the Mana Porirua area, and I have been with Plunket for a good 6 years now. And I too have children, and I have one under 5, and I am also quite, concerned about how we're going to manage it throughout this time, throughout the red light, throughout COVID in the community, and, having to consider locking down at home with them potentially if it comes to that. So, yeah, it'll be good to have a chat around all of these issues and how it impacts our parenting and our day-to-day life.
Cool. Awesome. Lovely. And Waikura, if you could introduce yourself as well, please.
Oh, tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi, Chloe.
Oh, I think Waikura may have frozen a little bit there. Oh, it's all good. We will carry on for the moment. When she comes back with us, I will make sure she introduces herself to you. Waikura is one of our wonderful colleagues, though, at National Office. She's been with Plunket for many years. She's got some wonderful girls as well, so I'm sure she will love having a chat and sharing all of her experience and knowledge with us too. So, as I briefly mentioned, if anyone has any questions during the chat, do feel free to type them in the box. We will get to as many as we can. We're obviously anticipating a lot of questions, so if we don't get to you, then please be patient. We will answer your questions as much as we can later on. Okay. Lovely. So first of all, why don't we get going to start off with how we can protect our whānau from COVID-19, especially those tamariki who are under 5 and don't have the option to get vaccinated. So Maxine, what would you kind of cover off as those kind of main points, please?
Yeah, so that's a really good point you make. They do wind up being a bit of a vulnerable population, the under 5s. So our infants, our toddlers, our preschoolers, because they are, unable to get the vaccination and therefore unable to kind of prime their immune system to fight off Omicron if they get it. So, we talk about the layers of protection, and that's talking about, doing all the other things. So if you can't get vaccinated or if you can't avoid, being out in the community, then you've got these layers of protection. So one of them is having the whānau around you vaccinated. So those who are eligible, that definitely reduces the spread to our little ones. Mask wearing. So when you're out and about, just wearing your mask, wearing it where you have to, but also wearing it when you're close with other people in public, just because it does reduce that likelihood that you're going to bring it home to the little ones. Wearing it into kindies and things like that as well to protect other people's children and under fives. So that's one layer there. The other ones would be, our standard precautions that we do with all infectious illness, right? So we're coughing and sneezing into our elbows. We are disposing of tissues straight away. We are washing our hands for 20 seconds regularly. So doing all of those things, sanitizing regularly, teaching the kids to sanitize, those things are going to help. And so when you put them all on top of each other, we've actually got a decent wall, a wee layer of protection, like we're saying, So those things will make a difference. I guess the other thing is, if anyone is unwell, it's okay to say, hey, it's best you don't come around to our whare, or, anyone in your house is unwell, it's best you don't go anywhere. It's best you don't go to school or kindy or work. You need to stay home just to stop that spread, because it's not just about us or our kids or our whānau or our household. It's what are we putting out into the community as well. So we've got to protect everyone, eh?
No, that's awesome advice. I suppose as well, if you are needing to isolate at home, or if you're staying home, kind of keeping the house ventilated as well, making sure you've got windows open and fans going, things like that. Yeah,
absolutely. So keeping the house ventilated, and we're so lucky it's summer still. And we need to have those, windows and doors open most of the time anyway.
Yes.
So keeping that ventilation happening. Fans are really good because it just disperses it all. And windows open so that the air flowing in and out disperses any sort of droplets or particles that may be carrying the bug. Especially if you're hanging out with others, like being outdoors, if you're having a play date, maybe plan it for like the park, or if someone is kind of coming over, as much as you can be outside. And if you do have to be inside, lots of ventilation again, so those things definitely help.
Cool. Awesome. Lovely. Okay, and I think we've actually got Waikura coming back to us now, so hopefully she's going to appear.
Just like that magic. Technology.
Beautiful.
Whānau.
Here she is.
Lovely. Well, Kia again, Waikura, making another grand entrance.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Tūreiti, that's how I do things. So kia ora koutou e te whānau. Aroha mai. So I'll just quickly introduce myself. Ko Waikura Kala Kamo tōku ingoa. He National Educator tuku tūna mahi. And I hail from Taranaki, Te Atiawa, Ngā Timutanga, ki Warikauri, so down in the Chatham Islands, Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Kaununu, ki Wairapa, Ngaitahu. So I'm a bit of everywhere. So kia ora koutou, and it's an honour to be part of this kōrero, our kaupapa today. Yeah, really relevant. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Lovely. Ngā mihi Waikura. Thank you, and wonderful to have you back with us. I'm not sure if you heard much of what Maxine was saying. Was there anything you wanted to add at all with sort of keeping our little ones safe when they're at home?
Yeah, I think it's, pretty much, I did hear a little bit of Maxine's whakaaro, and about, for whānau, it is about making sure that everyone that comes to see you and your pepe or whānau is safe. Safety around pepe is paramount. Wahi tapu. We want to keep pepe really safe. So, like Maxine mentioned, hand washing. Really good defense mechanism. Just good old hand washing with soap, not just you, but with pepe as well. And, if you're sick and unwell, just wearing something that can cover your mouth, whether it's a face mask, but also just being mindful of all of that as well. So, kia ora koutou whānau.
Cool. Awesome. Lovely. Thank you. And I just want to say hi. We had a couple of hellos from, I think, from Michelle and also from Aviana as well. So thank you guys for saying hello. We're glad you're here with us. And as I said before, anyone has any questions, please do let us know. We'll get to as many as we can this evening. So we've covered a little bit of kind of physical measures that we can take, keeping us safe from germs, all that good stuff, keeping the air moving, lots of hand washing. But also, as I said before in the introduction, this is a time that can be really tough on our mental health as well, especially, the ups and downs, the different restriction we've got going on at the moment. And so, to a question to both of you, Waikura and Maxine, what are some good ways that you can sort of explain with sort of parents protecting their own mental health and their little ones' mental health as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I can jump in here, Waikura. I guess, sticking as much as acknowledging for starters that it is tough, and there are going to be times where it is tough. And, good parents find themselves really struggling at times. And it's about putting your hand up and going, okay, I need to talk to another adult. I need to debrief. I need a little bit of space for myself sometimes. That's cool. That's good parenting. Put baby in a safe place, put the toddler in a safe space, and just have a breather. That's important. Call a friend, call a whānau member, call Plunket line if you need to. But I guess in terms of just preventing us as parents from getting to that point, there's a few things we can do, even if we are kind of stuck at home with the kids, keeping routine as much as possible for our sanity and for their sanity. Little children and babies and toddlers, they really do rely heavily on routine and structure and, understanding what's coming up. And, if I've just had dinner, then I'm probably going to have to get into my pajamas soon. And then they're expecting to go and brush their teeth and head into bed. That's what makes kids feel secure in their day-to-day life. So keeping those things going is really going to support them to feel okay. Other things would be like, keep up that activity, get outside, get some fresh air, let the kids run off a bit of steam. It might just be in your backyard, kicking a ball around. If you're not isolating, getting out into nature, into wide open spaces and running around, those things are so good for our little ones, our toddlers. So things like that, I guess having, some activities up your sleeve at home as well, whether they're busy sort of games where everyone has to kind of cooperate to their learning ability. But also things like, some activities on hand that can help them kind of chill out and have a quiet time as well, so reading or just colouring in or drawing and, just making those spaces and those times for them throughout the day to help keep them regulated and feeling secure. And that helps us to manage them and their needs a bit better too.
Oh, no, that's awesome. And I suppose, actually, no, sorry, and Waikura, sorry, do you have anything to add, sorry, before I continue?
Yeah. Ngā mihi, Max. And I guess just really emphasising the structure and the routine. But first of all, it is about, be kind to yourself. This is really normal. How you're feeling, your anxiety is really normal.
And understandable.
Understandable. And, give yourself a break. Be kind. This is a new world that we're living in. Literally the whole world. And it's been, be mindful of that. And, we're all going to have these rumination, this whakaaro in our mind. What does this mean? And maybe anticipating what does next week look like, or what's going to happen in the future, and are we able to see our whānau and all of that. Those kinds of things can really exacerbate how you're feeling in the whare. So, and we talk about staying calm as possible. hey, it's, it's easy said than done. And it is one of the things that you can control. There's some things out there that you can't control with these. If we do go in for another lockdown or go into certain places, but the things you can control is usually around home. And that is keeping, as much of the routine as you can. We're talking about mindfulness, that's a big thing in the world universally, is about, what does it look like or sound like to practice mindfulness? And what that does is to actually slow down that thinking of thoughts of anxiety. So when we're talking about staying calm, it's good to have the whole whānau practice a bit of mindfulness, not just you, the whole whānau. It's a collective thing. It's going to take each one of us to actually get through all of this. So being a really good role model is another thing. And, it takes, you have to be really thoughtful about that. And sometimes when we are quite anxious, we do tend to get a little bit reactive. And that's where mindfulness comes in, that you sit back and take a breather and think, okay, what is it for now? So, role model to your tamariki, so they can see your kids like washing your hands, that it becomes a normal routine. Because you normalize that, relaxing. So before bedtime, let's do a little bit of mindful breathing, belly breathing. Kids love belly breathing. So they can watch each other's belly go up and down, and just peace in the mind there. And just limit your time talking about COVID as well. And I'm guilty of that. I'm constantly wanting to, what's going on with COVID. And I think sometimes it can be a little bit more harmful than we think if we're so much into it, that we actually start to manifest a lot of that, and our tamariki see that. So I think it's really important to be kind to yourself. Have a routine, and if it doesn't work out, let's play. That's okay. Let's try something else. And if you find that your kids or tamariki are getting really upset, or feeling a little bit low, remember that's their way of communicating, and acknowledge those feelings for them. And you know be in the presence with your whānau, and have a look at what you can actually do, that you can improve how things can run in the whare. So kia ora koutou, that's my input.
Oh, that is wonderful input, Waikura. And we have a lovely thank you as well from Jean, who says, gosh, thank you, Waikura. I needed that reminder. And I think a lot of us probably need that reminder. So thank you so much. Beautiful words. Thank you. And we've got a couple of questions which have come as well. So we'll answer both of these. So again, thank you for sending these in. So our first one is from Debbie. Hi, Debbie. And she asks, what are your thoughts about taking a 2-year-old to a play group? Is it best to stay away until we know what's going to happen with COVID?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because it's how we continue on with our daily lives as much as possible, but limit that spread. I think in terms of our little ones, and as we were saying before, that priority and vulnerable population that is our under fives, I would be quite cautious about going to meetups and groups that are maybe indoors and stuff. However, if you're able to social distance, and if you're able to do them outside, then that can be a positive thing. Of course, our toddlers can't really social distance, so lots of hand washing, hand sanitizing. Children as young as 2 can wear masks. So if that's something that works for you and your whānau, that is an option. Michael Baker, the epidemiologist, or the COVID guy, he has been talking about that. And as the guru has been talking about it. And as long as they can tolerate it, And that might be, again, like Waikato was saying, like the modeling, like I wear my mask, you wear your mask, you know. I got my 3-year-old a mask from a little craft shop that's, you know, covered in Elsa and Anna from Frozen, so she's stoked to wear it. But she probably couldn't wear it for super long periods of time either, so just understanding that just wearing it when it's really necessary. But those are some options you could consider. I do know that a lot of the kind of groups in our area are either shutting down in red light or, adapting it to do it outside. So buggy walks and stuff instead of, you know, antenatal groups and things like that. So there's ways to still get that community support from other parents and be around other parents, but in a safer way in the red light. So, yeah, I think that would probably be my answer to that question.
That's a really good point there, Max. You know, it's because we know how important it is to have that engagement, to have that whanaungatanga with others, to have the company of others. That's just that's human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also, you know, one thing that you may want to consider is having a group of you, a regular group with that you can, you know, create yourself that will have these regular gatherings together. And so you're sort of just helping to minimize the uncertainty there. So it's like, okay, there's a group of mamas here, you know, come together, have a kōrero, talk about, you know, what your concerns are. If you do wish to have, you know, make sure there is engagement there. And just talk about, you know, if we do decide to do this, we have to be mindful of each other, keep each other safe. What can that look like? And so it's really having those conversations with your whānau group. But, you know, we know that health and wellness, it is about engagement and coming together. So kia ora for that.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that again. And you're so right in terms of that, you know, it goes back to what we were saying before about keeping ourselves sane and, you know, social, the social aspect of our well-being is so important. You know, it's not just health physically, mentally, spiritually, or our whānau. It's that social component that is really, really important for our mental health.
Ai tika.
Awesome. Ngā mihi both of you. That's wonderful, wonderful advice. And we have another question from Pippa. Hello, Pippa. She asks, how can we treat our baby at home who is between sort of 0 to 6 months old if baby gets COVID?
Yeah, so I guess what we're looking at with COVID symptoms is what we call an upper respiratory tract infection, right? So that's what it's, you know, we're looking at symptoms that are quite similar to our common cold. So in terms of managing that in our babies, it's going to be very, very similar to managing the common cold and just watching for signs of worsening breathing difficulty. So, you know, if you've had a little one in the past who may have had, you know, RSV or bronchiolitis, then you'll probably be quite aware of the signs that cold is worsening and baby needs to see a doctor. Well, it will be the same with this, okay? So it will be the blocked nose affecting baby's ability to drink and feed. And how we manage that, we're going to be maybe using a bit of saline to flush the nostrils, or we're going to be using a steamed up bath or bathroom to, you know, help baby to decongest. You can use a bit of baby Vicks on a tissue and pop it in between the layers of their clothing to help them breathe a bit better. And if they've got a cough, you know, it's just supporting them with comfort cares while that viral cough runs its course. And again, monitoring it for worsening sort of breathing advice. And I'd just say, you know, like if you're not sure what to do for your baby, call Plunket line 0800 933 922, because they can give you the advice on how to manage baby's symptoms and what your baby is experiencing in that moment. They can also do an online triage over the phone, and that will give you an idea of actually maybe my baby does need to be seeing a doctor, and they'll tell you what to do.
Awesome advice. And I did say we would be mentioning Plunket Line's number a lot through this chat, and I was not lying. Yeah, as Maxine said, whenever you feel any concern, always feel free to give us a call. Lovely.
But I suppose I'll just before you go,
No,
just
go for it.
move on, is just say, we're looking at the standard sort of signs and symptoms for COVID are going to be, tired, runny nose, cough or sore throat. They might be really irritable, like they've got aches or a headache. They may get a fever. They may get a sore tummy, diarrhea, sneezing, things like that, okay? So any of those symptoms really at this time with Omicron starting to spread in our communities, we should be popping off to the doctor or at least to the testing station and getting baby tested, getting our kids tested, or getting the adults tested as well. Anyone in the house who's got those symptoms, get tested.
Cool. Oh, that's super important. Lovely. Thanks, Maxine. Thank you.
Good.
Cool. Adi, and we have another question coming in. Thank you all so much for these. And it's from Aviana, and I want to thank her for reaching out as well, because it's exactly what we want people to do. So she says, I can't be kind to myself according to my childhood trauma. It's awful for my little angel to see her mother swearing and can't control herself. Even with having therapy, this pain is still beating my heart badly. And Waikura, do you have any advice, any words for Aviana, please?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge, Aviana, that I can imagine that it's been hard to be living these years with this childhood trauma. And, and where do you go to with that? And where do you and your pepe stand at the moment? It's and I think, we all think we can't be kind to ourselves. We don't feel like we deserve it for whichever reason. And aroha mai, I'm not clear on on what it's been like for you. But what I'm hearing is that what has happened in the past is still with you in your naka, in your heart today. And it's having a huge impact on how you see yourself today and your fear of how your pepe sees you. And I think if that's the case, and like you've already mentioned that you've been, even with therapy journey, this pain still beating in my heart badly. Some of the details, I'm not sure how long you've been on this therapy journey. You've been on this, but I do suggest, reach out, keep telling people about your journey. Reach out to them, whoever will listen to you. And if that person doesn't listen to you or isn't the right fit that fits with you, what you need, you keep asking the next person. And it may be your tamariki ora nurse, it may be your plunket nurse, it may be Plunket Line in those times when it's really hard. And that's a wonderful thing about Plunket Line is they're 24/7. So if you find yourself right there and that you actually want to tell someone, your feelings, your whakaaro, what's going on, ring them, because they're just a phone call away. The thing about this too, Aviana, is, we believe we should not be going through this alone. And I don't know if you have support people or if you have whānau with you, but if you don't, Plunket Line, your GP, plunket nurses will become your new whānau if you reach out to them. Okay, but thank you for sharing that, Aviana, and showing the ka maya. the courage to actually speak your truth, and keep reaching out for what you need and what your baby needs as well. And I can see, in your message that you are quite reflective. You're reflecting on how your Pepe sees you, how you think Pepe sees you through he or her eyes. So kia ora koutou for that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Waikura. That's wonderful. Lovely. And we've got another question that's come in from Rachel, and she's asking what our thoughts are on daycare. I presume sort of sending our Pepe and our tamariki to daycare during this time. Maxine, do you want to lead on that, please?
Yeah, so I guess the reality is in the red light setting, life doesn't stop and work doesn't stop necessarily, and kids don't need to stop going to daycare. They get a lot of well-being benefits from being around other children and their friends and their kayak or their teachers. It's good for them. It's good for their routine and those sorts of things. And sometimes the reality is we can't stay at home with our kids because we need to work. So that's okay to be sending your kids to daycare at this time. I think just like in the middle of winter when our kids are going to daycare and the bugs are going around, if your little one's unwell, don't send them. If you're particularly concerned about your little one, if they have maybe underlying conditions, or they have a sibling who has underlying conditions and is vulnerable, or another family member in the house, then maybe you will be a bit more cautious, and any kind of sign or that so-and-so is a bit unwell today, maybe you don't bring bub in the next day. But, it's in the red light setting, it's up to your discretion, okay? And it is up to you to make that choice. Of course, if they're unwell, do not send them. So a snotty nose, a cough, just don't send them. It's really important. And that's probably the biggest thing to stress is anyone who's unwell just stays at home and hunkers.
Awesome. Lovely.
Down.
Thank you, Max. Oh, love it. Oh, thanks, Maxine. Thank you for that. Lovely. And we have another question from Melisha. Hi there, Melisha. And she asks, what would be your advice about flying with under fives and going to family weddings? Waikura, do you want to take this one, please?
Oh, I think this is a really tricky one. And, I think it's just going off on Maxine's whakaaro. It's about, you can, it's pretty much your choice at the end of the day. Who knows what, if you catch anything on the plane or if you catch anything at the wedding, you may not at all. But I think it's bringing it back down to, how do I feel about it? How do I feel about going on the plane, and how do I feel about going to the wedding? That's all it comes down to, because you are, speaking for not just yourself, but for your Pepe, who was unvaccinated, who was, not quite vulnerable, but who can catch this bug that's floating around in places. So it does come down to your personal choice. And it's, even going through a checklist and saying, I got pros and cons. I find if we put things into perspective, what does that mean? What's the potentials? Coming down to the end of it and saying, yay or nay. So we don't know next week. We don't know what happens in 2 weeks. But again, it's about keeping you and your whānau safe. They're the things that you can change or improve or protect.
Awesome.
Kia ora, Chloe.
Kia ora, thank you, Waikura. And we've had a sort of an answer back from Aviana as well, who we spoke about and acknowledged earlier. And she says, lovely words, thank you, aroha, to Waikura. So ngā mihi again, Waikura. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Lovely. And we have other questions are coming in today. This is wonderful. We've got a question from Millie Rose. And her question is, my mother-in-law refuses to get vaccinated and has been attending some of the protests. Am I justified in requiring her to be tested before meeting the baby? The baby's 10 weeks old and hasn't met the grandmother yet. So yeah, any thoughts on that from either of you?
I guess it's a really contentious topic, and it's contentious for so many people and so many families. And at the end of the day, we love our whānau and we love our whānau members, and the love can still remain and the relationships can still remain. And I think, coming from a clinical perspective, like we said before, our under fives are now a vulnerable population for Omicron. Their older siblings, vaccinated. They've got a layer of protection. The adults in their lives vaccinated. They've got a layer of protection. Our little ones don't. So in terms of wanting to protect them as much as possible, if we were in the middle of winter and there was RSV going around, there was a campaign last year, don't kiss the baby. Don't kiss the baby. Because anybody could be carrying it asymptomatic, and the last thing we want is our babies to catch it. So I think in your...
Oh, we've just frozen a little bit from Maxine. We'll give her a moment. Oh,
sorry. Are we there?
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. You just froze, but you're back.
We
Wonderful.
know it's going around. Oh, sorry. We know it is going around. We know it's going around in the community. So if we think about it like we did with RSV last year, those who have been to events that are likely to be a hot hub for the virus, then I think it's okay to expect that and to ask that they are tested before they come and see baby. You can talk to them online, you can video chat, they can see baby. But if they want to get up close and personal and have that physical contact with baby, I would be definitely just doing as many of those layers of protection as possible. Get them to mask up, wash hands, maybe you meet outside if it's possible, and asking for a test beforehand after going to an event, a large event, is probably a good idea.
Yeah, kia ora for that, Max, because I know that for myself as a mother, my first initial response is, hell no, But clinically, it's like, putting the layers of protection in there. But also,
and I think if people are sick, usually with our little babies in winter, if you've got a winter baby, you're not taking them to the supermarket.
Absolutely.
You're not taking them into large groups of people because the winter bugs are going around anyway. So whether it's COVID or the standard winter bugs, we're always protecting our little ones from winter bugs.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the whakaaro I was thinking. That
and that's not a new thing. That's not new to COVID.
Not new to COVID. This is how we would normally do it with any bug that's going around. So kia ora for that.
Imagine if we did have rapid antigen testing for RSV. Wouldn't that be easy? Wouldn't that be handy?
Oh, let's not go there.
Right idea. Light bulb moment.
Let's not give Ashley Bloomfield too many things on his plate. Let's just concentrate on one thing at a time, Max. One thing at a time.
All right. Okay.
Get our priorities. We've also had some really, really helpful comments and korero about this from our viewers as well. So thank you all for sharing your points on this too. Emmy says sort of about sort of banning unvaccinated people, saying yes, definitely justified. A friend of mine with a 6-week-old banned all non-vaccinated people from visiting her house. Fair enough. So again, as you both were saying, it's about protecting those peppy, protecting those baby. They're so precious, especially in those early stages. And a comment from Jean as well. She says, and she comes by from a perspective of an unvaccinated person too, saying, when I wasn't fully vaccinated yet, my friend with a vulnerable child banned me from their house. I supported her decision to ban me. An understanding person won't mind the ban if it's best for the child. I'm now fully vaccinated, but it's okay to say no. And I think her comment should, give people that strength to say no and go with their gut too, because as you both were saying, you both know what everyone knows what's right for their baby. So no, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing, everybody. That's awesome. Lovely. Okie dokie. And I suppose one thing we haven't mentioned yet is sort of breastfeeding and COVID too. And I know I hear a lot from our nurses on Plunket Line. We get lots and lots of questions about breastfeeding and COVID. And are there any benefits to breastfeeding with COVID? If you guys want to have a chat about that.
Yeah. So I think the main message is, if you get COVID, continue to breastfeed your baby. You don't want to stop breastfeeding because you've become unwell. Some tips are like, if you're quite unwell in yourself, like you're actually really sick, then it might be expressing and using a bottle, giving someone who's got a bit more energy than you the bottle to feed to Pepe. Another thing might be we're avoiding coughing and sneezing near our baby. We're maybe wearing a mask if we're full of snot and whatnot. Again, these are not specific to COVID. These are normal cares if we're sick with our baby, just to try and avoid that spread. Having said that, if we have COVID, our baby is likely to be a close contact, so we'll probably need to be tested. But the other thing is they don't, they may not be vaccinated, but if they're breastfeeding and you are vaccinated, then they will have some antibodies from you, because the antibodies do pass through the breast milk. So if you were vaccinated while you were pregnant, or you were vaccinated and you're breastfeeding, then your body, your breast milk is giving your baby immunity. So in a way, our little breastfeeding babies have more immunity maybe than their older siblings.
Ngā mihi, Maxine. I think just to add to that is, looking at the benefits with that, but also, taking necessary precautions. Like our kōrero tonight's been, washing your hands, washing your ringaringas before and after contact with baby, when feeding, nappy changing, holding, and even cleaning or disinfecting any surfaces that you may touch. And again, like Maxine has said, ensure your cough or sneeze into the elbow or tissue. And again, it is what we normally do when we are unwell. And when you are winding baby, just move baby a little bit further up on your shoulder, so not directly next to your face, to your waha at all, and just wind or burp that way. So it is being really mindful of those precautions there. But yeah, the antibodies in the breast milk, great protection.
Yeah. They don't call it liquid gold for nothing, eh?
That's right.
Lovely. And we've had another question from Jean. So thank you, Jean. And it's a nice one to kind of round us off a wee bit as well. And she asks, what does being kind to yourself look like?
Which
is a pretty big question in some ways.
It is. I can tell you what being kind looks like for me.
Yeah.
I can talk from my lens. And that's for me, it's about not to sweat the small stuff. Not to sweat the small stuff. Not to sweat, oh, yes, I haven't vacuumed the floor. Oh, well. Oh, I haven't, I've left the washing on the line. Oh, well. Because those are the things that, you know, it, and again, it is, especially when you got a whānau, like I got a whānau 6 tamariki. Thank goodness half of them have left home and moved away. So I've only got 3, and the biggest child is hubby. So that's 4. But it's I hope he's not watching this. But I think it's being really mindful that for your whole whānau to come together and say, you know, we are going through a new change. We are going to be part of this history. You know, we're going to be part of the future, you know, part of the history books. And that, you know, we're not going to sweat the little stuff. You know, if your tamariki, you know, it's not doing their homework or they're not feeling good, that's okay. You know, it's about choosing your battles, and it's about taking time out, whether it's 5 minutes to yourself, and it's even going out into the tai or walking in bare feet in the grass and just really embracing, you know, your environment. Because if anything, with this COVID, so much of nature has come out, you know, that why don't we go and be part of it? Why don't we go out there and enjoy it? For me, that's about, you know, going out there, smelling the roses, feeling the sunshine on my face and go, I'm so grateful to be here. Doing yourself a grateful wish list every day. Think about what you are grateful for. And what that does, it gives you off your happy hormones. That's what being kind to yourself looks like for me. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Waikura. That is wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, getting those happy hormones going is what we need to do. We can always use some of this.
Absolutely.
Fabulous.
Just to add, the other
Yeah.
the other thing that makes me really happy is a hot chocolate once a day.
We know the way to your heart, Waikura.
Oh yeah.
I know. As you were speaking, you were saying all these amazing things. I was like, oh, you know what? A cup of tea and maybe some Instagram reels, you know.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Sign me up.
Watching Netflix, mindful eating.
Yeah.
It's really enjoying the little things, because it's the little things that sometimes we miss.
Yeah.
And actually
I absolutely agree with that. That I think your message there around to parents to just don't sweat the small stuff. Sometimes the best thing you can do as a parent is just drop all the errands, drop all the chores, and give your kids a hug. Just lie on the floor with them, lie on the couch, chuck some pillows on the ground, and just lie there in a pile, and just, who cares about the mess? Deal with it later.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're woparu, it doesn't matter.
No, as long as there's a clean plate to eat off and a clean t-shirt to put on, forget about it. We can deal with it tomorrow.
All you need. Awesome.
That's right. Just keeping ourselves mentally well and making sure everybody is okay mentally and emotionally is the priority, eh? The rest doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And, you know, have a regular check-in with each other. Because if you're like me and my whānau, we're like ships passing in the night, and sometimes we forget to stop and check in. So do check in with each other.
Awesome. Kia ora. Kia ora. Ngā mihi to both of you. This has been wonderful. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our chat tonight. I could talk with you guys for another few hours, but we need to wrap this up shortly. I just want to go through a few little things before we say ka kite this evening. So just so everyone knows, we will be posting a link for Kids Health after this chat, which has a symptoms chart for COVID-19. It's available in 7 languages, so do take a look at that when that comes up shortly. If anyone needs any help or any advice, as we said at the beginning and during this chat, you can always call Plunket line on 0800 933 922 if you're worried about your child, or if you're wanting to reach out for support. They're available 24/7. There is also the specialised COVID-19 health advice line. They are available on 0800 358 5453. And of course, we have Healthline too, so you can always call them as well if you're experiencing any symptoms yourself as a caregiver, and they're available on 0800 611 116. Or, of course, if you have any tamariki who are over 5 years old, you can also call Healthline for them too. So that is all we have time for. We're going to post some more links after the chat today. The Kids Health website is a really good one to go to as well. They have some absolutely fantastic little bite-sized videos. And if you're ever needing any advice on things you should be looking out for with your little ones, do take a look at the back cover of your Tamariki Ora Well Child health book. There's some really great advice on there too. So yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you once again to Maxine and Waikura. It has been absolutely fabulous having a kōrero with you both this evening. You are both wonderful wahine. It's a pleasure to know you both. Big love. And a massive thank you as well to everybody who is watching us today. Thank you for all your questions. We're sorry we didn't get to all of them, but we will try and we will answer them in the coming days and make sure everyone has the answers that they've asked for. And we have a lovely comment as well from Aviana as well to end this evening. And she says, "You're definitely right. Hot chocolate equals warm heart." And I think that is a fabulous note to end on. So once again, thank you, Maxine. Thank you, Waikura. Thank you to both of you. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time we have one of our live chats. Ka kite, everybody. Po marie. Bye now.
Ka kite.
Ko mare e.
Ka kite.